Actually, there is
Sorry.
no average workday for me because I deal with a lot of people who, uh, how do I put it? They're all film stars or other people. So the meetings and everything pretty much get fixed, or sometimes at the last minute, or like that kind of a thing. So my teaching is in one particular semester, so that is the third semester of every year, which is January to March roughly. Uh, but yeah, but and the books happened a long time ago, and those again were things that I did while I was the editor of of I was working with the Express and then the Hindu. So that's what happened with the books. So there isn't an average workday for people in my profession, like many professions, because there is no such thing as a 9 to 5 or something like that. So you could be called for an interview on a Sunday, but then you make up for it by, maybe Tuesday would be slow or something like that. So yeah, it's there is no such thing as an average day.
Okay. What are the different things you do?
So my my job with Film Companion, I'm the editor of Film Companion South. So with my team, I uh, coordinate and do interviews along with my colleagues in Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and Malayalam. I also, with my colleagues, review films in these four languages. That's the primary thing for Film Companion. uh yeah, that's the main job. Yeah, everything else comes, like the teaching and all that is secondary.
Okay. Since you started off as an engineer and then went into advertising, you worked for a while in IT and then turned to film. You think your background itself and your foundation shapes your current tastes? And if so, how?
No, I don't think so, because I was always into films and writing, and that's what I wanted to do. So I was not one of those people who I just did not know then how to combine the two. So I pretty much went with the flow, Indian middle class background, engineering, whatever, so just it took me a while to find my footing in what I wanted to do. But yeah, but today, I probably wouldn't have this many, I wouldn't have done all the other things, simply because, you know there's much more access to so many things, and people pretty much know what's out there. And even things like parental pressure have changed in India. Like, it's not like every middle class, boy has to end up an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. There are I mean, people are a little more understanding of different professions. Like, I have like a nephew who's going into getting into photography and things like that. So there is a lot more, I would say, tolerance for that kind of a thing, because back in the day, in the 60s and the 70s, when when you said you were going to do something regarding the movies, it was typically thought as something bad, simply because the success rate is so low. But now I think people don't, pretty much. I know women who enter movies as assistant directors, and for the Tamil film field, like, this is a huge thing, because yeah, usually it's a very male dominated field, again, because of the fear that, oh my God, my daughter's out, she's doing late nights, how can she be in such a profession? All these have kind of slowly come down over the years. So yeah.
In school, I was still told not to do English. And they were like, stick to physics, chemistry, you're good
Yeah,
at it. Why
yeah,
would you
yeah,
switch?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, because but now thinking back, I think I would not have done much with a literature degree anyway, because this way I was able to travel. I was able to meet a lot of interesting people. And see, the thing is that it's not just about your career, it's also about your life, right? So there's also life changes that happen when I spent my 7 years in the US, or my 4 years in Bits Pelani. There were also a lot of life things that happened. So yeah, I don't regret this journey at all. I mean, I'm just saying that professionally it looks like a circuitous route, simply because I knew I did not want to do engineering, so I ended up with advertising. Then I went abroad, and then all kinds of things happened, and yeah, and I ended up here.
Do you think your film preferences have changed over time though, or do you feel like you've stayed on track more or less?
Um, I definitely, like everybody, I have certain preferences in terms of what kind of genre one likes. But for me, basically, whatever it is, I just look for uh, the film should be made with adherence to and with a little bit of knowledge for the film form. Because just like you cannot call a sentence poetry. There's a certain form to poetry. There's a certain you can't just write a line or an essay and call it poetry. There's a difference. So similarly, you can't just shoot something and call it a film. It's like there has to be a certain thought process behind it. There's a grammar to it. There is a certain thing about lighting or whatever it is. So for me, something that shows me that the director knows the language and has used it well is always an interesting film. Yeah.
That was actually going to be my next question. When you started to write about films, was it from the perspective of a film lover or someone with formal knowledge of film? Like,
See,
and you
obviously
feel the
now
latter is necessary to be a good critic?
I would say I definitely know a lot more today because I've interacted with a lot of professionals and I learned a lot more about the actual mechanics of filmmaking. But even back then, I used to read a lot. I mean, that's why I came here, because of the understanding that there was so much more to film than just saying I like the story, I like the acting, or this is an important story, or like this is a social relevant story or something like that. I mean like the books I was reading, even at college, in the college library, they opened me up to a huge amount of information that oh my god, if this is why, I don't know, Satyajit Ray set up the shot because he wanted, like this girl receding into the background or whatever it is. It's not just happening by accident, or everything in a frame is a deliberate choice. That's something that just blew my mind, because till then you're watching films like a story, right? You're just kind of watching like okay, this happens and then this happens, oh, this character is the murderer, that's the kind of way you watch a story. But this really blew my mind, that every single thing in the frame is decided by either the director in coordination with the cinematographer. The actors are made to move a certain way, that is given some meaning by certain things. So yeah, so that is what made me want to do this, because I realized that there wasn't anybody in Tamil cinema reviewing films that kind of way. And I thought maybe that would be an interesting way to kind of let's see if we can write about films this way. That's how I came into this. That's what made me want to do this in the first place. Yeah.
Okay. Um, and people often say that critics roam around with a yardstick comparing films to earlier films. So, would you say this is true? Do you judge a film purely based on its content or based on its predecessors? And which do you think is a better way, if one?
No, it's always, films are always judged on the basis of their content. Because you're a critic, you have a sense of film history. So you're also saying that, like, you may bring in other earlier films just as a reference point. But if a film is doing what it sets out to do well, and with that thing about whatever it is, then then that's all. I don't, you don't compare films. It's like films are like people, right? Everybody has their pluses and minuses. It is up to you to decide whether you meet somebody, whether you want to become their friend, because there's no person without minuses, and you say I want to become a friend because your pluses are greater than your minuses, or there is one very strong plus that attracts me to you and wants me to become your friend, that kind of outweighs the minuses. That's how it is with films. It's like you just that there are good things about the film, the not so good things about the film, and then ultimately if the good things outweigh the bad things, you kind of say it's a good film.
Okay. What do you consider elements of a good film? especially in 2021? Maybe not.
No, that's what it is. It's like whether it follows a film form, whether there's film grammar, whether there is, whether the story is interesting, whether the actors are used well, whether the film moves a certain way. There are when I say good, it is like what makes you say that. Let's say you have a burger. What makes you think it's a good burger? It's like when you bite into it, the taste gives you, like, hits your brain and says, wow, this is a good burger, right? It's something like that. When you watch the film, something hits your head and says, uh, this is giving me a lot of, like engagement. I don't like to use the word entertainment because there are tragic films as well, but this is giving me a lot of engagement. And as long as I think the definition of a good film is one that is made well and also engages with you at a very visceral level. Yeah.
Okay. Um, so when you review a film, do you feel like your own personal emotions drive your spectatorship? Or as a critic, do you feel like you can now distinguish between the two?
Are you asking if I'm an objective critic?
Yeah.
No, not at all. I don't think there is. I don't believe in objective criticism. I think there is only one kind of criticism which comes from the heart. The what I talked about film grammar. That's not subjective. That exists. Like the thing about people putting things in a frame a particular way and staging a scene, or whatever it is. But even after all that the way that frame enters your consciousness and becomes part of the story is all based on your internal wiring. So you can't help but be subjective in uh, uh, that respect.
Right. Okay. So you had a piece out about film trends that should be left behind, and you also talk about things like you talk against the crying baby trope in your recent review of Jai Bhim. What do you consider to be elements of a good film today? And do you feel like this is any different from what elements of a good film would have been before? Because you say film grammar and film form. Has this changed in the past maybe 2 decades?
No, it has to change because, see, the thing is, Tamil cinema, or rather Indian cinema, has a way of spoon feeding the audience, and that's a little use, like, I always compare films to people. It's like when your kid is 2, you're spoon feeding your kid, it's fine. If your kid is fine, if your kid is 10 and you're still for spoon feeding your kid, it's not, I mean, there's nothing, it's not unlawful, but it's a little strange. It's like, I mean, what is this? Why can't the kid figure out what he or she wants to eat? It's like that. It's like, okay, you film has been around for 100 years. Sometimes just show it, leave it, and also learn the language first. It's like don't write like screenplays that pretty much dictate everything to the audience and manipulate them into how they feel. When I was talking about the crying baby trope, I basically meant you're trying to show me a crying baby because, though, oh my god, it's going to hit my heart, and I'm going to cry some
Loved it.
more.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I loved it. Personally, I loved the example because it was.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to, film is manipulation. Any storytelling, literature, poetry, everything is manipulating because it's a combination of either words or images that try to produce a certain effect in you. But that doesn't have to be vulgar, that you don't have to go to the extent of like saying, I'm going to hit you, keep hitting you on the head till you get a reaction, when the story itself is so strong. So I feel that, yeah, that's what I mean. But I think over the years, the 80s, I think, since the late 70s, Tamil cinema especially has seen a resurgence in, or rather an interest in form, film grammar. And you can see it like continuing with some directors today. But on the whole, I would say that Tamil cinema does not have many great directors. We've always had a handful, and we continue to have a handful. Hindi cinema, on the other hand, people learn the grammar properly. There is a certain, they know what to do with a shot. Like I don't know how, whether they go to film school or whether they are trained in a certain way. I don't know what happens, but they somehow, they instinctively know how to, like, frame a shot non clumsily, they write a certain way. So there are more better directors in Hindi than in Tamil. Yeah.
Okay. I know Mani Ratnam is your own favorite in Tamil cinema, but what recent film do you feel did a good job?
Uh,
Could be
of
in Tamil
his,
cinema, could be in Bollywood, not of his,
uh,
in general, in Tamil cinema right now.
oh, uh, wow, that's a tough question. Let me just see what I liked recently. Uh,
What's the last film
um,
you've seen?
this one, this Kanakam Kamini Kalaham, which is this Nivin Pauly film. Recent film that did a good job. I thought Doctor did a good job of being a good commercial film. Yeah.
Do you have a Bollywood favorite in recent times?
I haven't seen too many recently, but last year I remember enjoying Bulbul quite a lot. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. I this year I can't remember too many that kind of hit the spot. Yeah.
right. Um, what is your own all-time favorite film? What do you personally like going back to, either as a reference or just in terms of rewatching for fun?
I would say I I mean it would be such a cliche. I would say you mean Indian film or foreign film?
It could be anything.
Something like The Godfather, something like Lawrence of Arabia, because I love that classical style of filmmaking very much. That grammar is very beautiful for me. I love that very classical. I'm not a very handheld camera kind of guy. I like those very classical compositions where you have deep focus and wide shots, and I love that kind of stuff.
Okay. Um, when you actually, can you speak to a review that you are particularly proud of? Is there any particular thing that comes to mind?
I I don't associate reviews with pride. No, but I think I was happy. I've been able to champion some smaller indie films over the years. Yeah, that's always makes you happy because you see them earlier and you kind of give them a shout out, and it makes more people interested. That's something we keep trying to do, and unfortunately there's never an audience for them because Indian, like most movie goers around the world, it's always the big films that interest people, rather than small well-made films. But yeah, but I think you kind of have smaller films too today that I've championed, and I think those reviews are always something that again, not proud of, but I'm happy I did them. Kind of brought notice to at least to the 5 or 6 or 10 people that might have seen them. Yeah.
Okay. What are the challenges of writing criticism that runs counter to a film's mainstream reception? Like, how would you describe
Uh,
the importance of publishing critical perspectives
uh, the importance of publishing critical perspectives.
and the challenges, or both, whichever?
You mean things like trolling and all that?
Just say if you take a Massey film, just something like Jai Bhim, which people have quite received quite well, and it's considered a Massey film that people actually like. So do you feel that this fact runs counter to your writing critique of the film? Just the fact that people love it so much, and then if you say something, it feels like you're trying to nitpick in some sense or something like that.
No, I see when I review a film, I'm least bothered about how the other people like it. For me, it's like literary criticism. There's only two questions: did I like the film? There's only a yes no question, and that comes from the gut and the brain. And if yes, why? If no, why not? This film did not work for me, so I made a list of reasons why it did not work for me, and I presented it like I would do to any film that did not work for me. And similarly, if a film worked for me, I would make a list of things that worked for me. I did the same thing here.
Okay. And how would you describe the importance of publishing critical perspectives on film?
Uh, I think it is important because I think there is a certain, I think film is not given the respect that it deserves in India. It is the greatest art form of the 20th century, the 21st century now, and we somehow still treat it like a toy, like an entertainment medium. And it's not that everything should be an art film, but even mainstream films can be made with a lot of class and finesse and all that kind of stuff. But I feel that films are just treated like toys, and I think that when you give a hopefully informed review, at least some people take the thing seriously, the film form seriously, and try to look at it as, oh, okay, this is interesting in the film, or maybe this is what the film is all about. Yeah.
Is there a director today that you feel makes both massy and classy films in any,
uh
could be in any region?
I thought the last such attempt was probably Bahubali, because I thought they were very well made films. The director certainly knew what he was doing, but they were also very massy in the sense that they were very visceral and entertaining, but very well thought out frames, very, very imaginatively done compositions. It was quite different from the regular Raja Rani films, kind of there, and it was the imagery was really, really thought out, and I really liked both those films. Yeah.
Okay. What is your own personal opinion of, say, grandeur in cinema, like a Sanjay Leela Bhansali set that tries to pick up smaller stories and take it to a more epic scale? Do you feel like that helps become a more massy film in some sense?
Uh, People do like to see grandeur, but with this particular example of Bhansali, I think it's not, the grandeur is not really the attraction. It's the way he tells the what you call small story, that's the attraction. Because it's the difference between, some people like a chicken kurta, where it's very plain, it's very simple and easy, like a kind of a thing, whereas some people like something with velvet embroidered with a lot of brocade and things like that. It's just that he takes a story and does this brocading, and I think that's a style, that's an older style. It's a very classical style, and his his sense of what goes into a frame is exquisite. He's undoubtedly a master, and his compositions are to die for, whether because he never shows you, like, there's always the way he designs movement, the way he directs his actors, the way he positions his actors, even when they're standing and all that. I mean, you with repeated viewings, you realize what's happening there. And yeah, so I don't think it's just about the grandeur, though that certainly may be the thing that brings people to theaters. But I think with this particular director, he's also a really, he's one of our best filmmakers. Yeah.
Okay. What is your relationship to outside influences like other reviews, press, etc., when you're composing your own criticism?
I don't read it, because frankly, because you don't have the time. It's not some, major philosophical decision or something like that. Often you just watch a movie, you have to come, you have to give your own review and be out with it. I try not to be on Twitter or Facebook too much, because that kind of gets into your head a lot. If you're kind of on the fence about a movie, you want to make your own decision about whether to jump this side or that side. But yeah, I don't really, but afterwards I might check out some reviews just to see, like what the word of mouth is like on Twitter. Like, is everybody praising it, or is everybody like not liking it, or whatever it is. So, but that has no relation to your own review. It is other people's opinions. So So it doesn't, I mean, it's just a curiosity of how the film is being released, probably. Yeah.
Lastly, I'm going to ask you a few slightly more technical questions about, say, how you got your own first gig at Indian Express, I read, but I'm not sure if this is true, when you switched to writing about films.
So yeah, I was writing reviews and sending them out by email to my friends, and one of them landed up like, and without me knowing it, my friends kept forwarding them to other friends, and the circle kept growing. I mean, I just had one basic bunch of friends that I was emailing these reviews to, and then but they were sending it out to other people, and one of them landed at the desk of Sushila Ravidranath, who was taking over as editor of the New Sunday Express. And she said she really liked my voice, and she said she's looking for somebody to do film. Would I be interested? And that's how I got that gig.
Okay. Is there some advice you would give someone in your field? Like, what do you think we as students who are studying abroad but are interested in coming back or working with Indian cinema should or could be doing?
I would say watch a lot of films, be familiar with, I would say have a lot of empathy. I don't think empathy is something that you can manufacture, which is very different from artificial sympathy. I would say empathy is one of the most important things while watching a film, to be able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Uh, I would say that quality is important, and the great directors, they do that very well. They kind of make you care about their characters. Uh, I would say familiarize yourself with the different genres of Indian cinema, because most critics, they tend to look down on mass or masala cinema, and I kind of, because I grew up with that, it's part of the blood, I guess. So I found it easy to get, I find it easy to switch between the two modes, but I know that a lot of younger critics are, find struggle to kind of sit through that kind of cinema. So I would say, find out why that kind of thing is happening. And I would also say be careful about, don't be a politically correct critic, in the sense that uh, art is about people are messy. The world is a messy place, so if you see somebody in a movie, like doing something that would be considered politically incorrect in the real world, uh, that doesn't automatically mean that the movie is bad. It's just about that particular character. That particular character is doing this particular thing, so he is a bad person or she is a bad person. So I mean, one thing that I really really dislike today is this extrapolation of one event in a movie or one character in a movie to like a community or to a larger uh, world, because films are a story. They are a story about the set of people who are inside that frame. uh, be very careful about what you take out of that frame and into the real world, because some of it may apply, but a lot of it may just be about the people inside that frame. And we should be very careful about trying to conflate the two. That is the people, it's like reading a book. You come across horrible things or horrific characters, but at the end of the day, it's fiction. So you should always remember that it is fiction, even if it is real life. In in the case, there are many real life biopics or whatever it is. uh, there is an element of there, it is what is on screen is completely fiction, because it has, if it has been twisted in a certain way to fit the film format. The screenplay has been written a certain way to make it a little more interesting. If somebody to kind of there are certain events that have been changed about, because to add a little drama. So you must understand that even if a film is called a biopic, it is not exactly what happened. It is a screenplayed version of what happened. So, and therefore, for me, even a biopic is a form of fiction when on screen. Uh, it to a real biography is possible only in the documentary form, where you can have 3 4 hours 5 hours of following somebody, kind of doing something, or showing them that X was born in this place, he did this, he did that, he did that, whatever it is. But whatever you're seeing in 2.5 hours can never encapsulate real life. So I think that realization is always very important, that what is happening within those the four sides of the frame, within the frame, is fiction.
Right. Have you ever considered working in film production in any place?
I did write a screenplay that I've helped a lot of people write screenplays. I've written scenes for people, but writing is what interests me. I'm not interested in becoming a director. I'm not interested in becoming any other, like part of film. Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
have you wanted to, I don't know, write a film, write a screenplay at some
That's
point?
what I'm saying. I wrote one which was not released because the company shut down. This was the early 2000s. They decided to kind of not take the film with them and not release it. Then I wrote a short film with the director Dilip Kumar, for which was released on Netflix. It was a sci-fi film. Then I have helped a lot of people write scenes in their movies. I've read a lot of screenplays, which people give me for doctoring, or kind of critiquing. I do that on a fairly regular basis, and yeah, that's yeah. And now I write a lot generally. So hopefully you may see me doing a screenplay or something like that. I don't know. So, but yeah, that's if that's my again, that's the level of my I want the level I want to be involved with in film. I For me, because for me the writing of the screenplay is the most important set of choices you will ever make in a film, because without that, the rest of the film does not exist. And you are practically defining each character. You're giving everybody else in the film instructions on what to do. For example, if you're writing a character and says he is a very well dressed character, then you're telling the costume designer basically that, okay, this is the kind of you know these are the costumes I have to think about. If when you're writing a screenplay, supposing you say that he's a very gloomy character, then the production designer may decide to paint the walls grays and blue browns or something like that, and kind of make allow the audience to feel the gloom of the character. So things like that. So I think the screenplay is basically the whole thing. And yeah, which is why I think it angers me when the screenplay is not well written, because that's really the one basic thing that you have to care about. And if that's not happening, because you can live with indifferent production design, you can live with indifferent music, you can live with okay cinematography or something like that, but if a film is not written well, then it's just dead. So
Right. Okay, thank you so much. These were my questions for you.
thank you. All the best. And is this